is it's an email for you to be able to sign off on some documents, okay? It'll go to your student email. So the only thing from this point forward that I am going to need you to have access to is that student email. And then once your hold is cleared, you'll be able to log into Pause and do registration, but I can't do that portion until that has been cleared, okay? Excuse me. Okay, so the advising syllabus is very similar to a course syllabus where it sets expectations for our office, okay? I am not going to go through the entirety of this document. I am going to focus primarily on the advising relationship roles and responsibilities portion. I'm going to talk about what we expect from you as the student and then what you can expect of me as your advisor, okay? First and foremost, from this point forward, you are expected to be prepared for and participate in your advising meetings. We don't expect it for the very first one because we're training you, but from that point forward, you have access to all the information and you should kind of already know what classes you're supposed to be signing up for, as well as, come in with any questions or concerns that you might have, but actively engage. If we are, talking to you and we're asking you questions, we want responses, okay? You are required to meet with us at least once per semester. That is for that next semester's advising. Um, so, but we're easily accessible. Stop by, say hi. Like, we're within the library on the second floor. It's, really easy to just, pop in and ask a quick question if you need to, okay? Yeah. And then when it comes to communicating with us, your FIT email is now your primary source of communication, both from us and to us. Okay. So definitely make sure that you're checking it at least once daily. I know that you're likely already getting quite a bit of email to it. We try not to spam you from advising. So if I'm sending you something, it likely has something important in it, either an important. Hmm? It will have my name associated with it, or it could be from the hub because we typically email out of the hub, but normally it does have my name on it. Okay. But yes, so typically if we're sending something, it's going to include like the add drop date or the withdrawal deadline, important dates that you need to be aware of. And then, of course, if there's anything that I'm seeing in your record that I might be concerned about, I try to reach out early. So if I'm seeing that you've got a low grade in a course, I may reach out and be like, hey, what's going on? And I do expect you to respond to me and go, oh, it was just a missing assignment, or I turned something in late and the grade's just not been updated, so that I'm aware that it's not anything to be worried about. But if it is something to be worried about, I'm hoping that you reach out and say, oh, I'm struggling a lot in this class. What can I do? And I can provide you with resources that you can go to. Your tuition is paying for a lot. Use the services that you can. Like, utilize everything that is possible to utilize while you're here. And then you should also take ownership in your own decision making. So I do provide recommendations, but at the end of the day, you are the one that is in charge of registration. You are the one that's actually in the class, and you're the one that's actually flying. So it is very important that you are a self-advocate and that you speak up. So if you ever have any issues, that you're talking to somebody, whether that's your professor, whether that's your instructor, the ACIs over at the flight line, anybody that you need to reach out to. Um, I can help to an extent, but a lot of it is on you as the student, okay? Now, what you can expect from me as your advisor is I'm going to be your information and policy expert. So if you don't know who to go to, you should use me as a directory. I have worked with the university since 2013. I've been working with College of Aeronautics students since 2022, and I've been an advisor since 2024. I have lots of information. I have lots of contacts. So even if I don't know the answer, I likely know who you should speak to. So you should definitely, if you don't know, you should come to me, and then I will tell you, hey, you need to go talk to this resource. Okay. When it comes to communicating with me, please note that I do have a 2 business day turnaround, both on my email and any voicemails that are left for me. Uh, so again, that could be further delayed if we are in peak time. So if we are in the height of advising, if it's registration week, any of those sorts of times where we are especially busy because we have a lot of students, then we may not be 2 business days. It could be 3. Like, it just may be a little bit further delayed. Um, just be aware of that. Our offices are typically open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're not open on the weekends. And if the university is closed, we are also closed. So the first time that's going to happen for you is going to be this upcoming Monday, which is Memorial Day. Okay. And then at the end of the day, this is a partnership. I'm here to help you get to your career goals through your academics. So whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish, I'm here to kind of help you as much as I can in your degree. So whatever that might look like for you could be different. A lot of students, choose to do a dual major with one of our associate's degrees or add another minor. You do have that option because you already have one minor, but you can add a second. So like there are different opportunities that are available to you, and I can kind of guide you on those additional paths as well. Okay. Okay. So the website that I want to introduce you to now is off of our main Florida Tech page. So when you go on to our main page, www. The main page, there is at the top here a links for and students section. You should bookmark this page. It has pretty much every direct access link that you can think of. So if you do use me as that directory resource and you send me an email and it's peak and I just send you a quick response back because I'm just trying to respond to you, and you've asked me a question about whether or not you can withdraw from a class, and I say, oh, hey, you need to go talk to financial aid before before I submit paperwork, you can come here to get their information because they have a direct link here. Office of Financial Aid, you log in, you click on it and you get their contact info and you contact them. Okay. Again, you can see here at the top, we have the big buttons for pause, the library, the academic calendar, and the catalog. And then we also have links for all of the different services. Under academics, you can see Canvas. That's going to be your electronic classrooms. And then, under registration, the registrar's link, you might need to go here on occasion. And then under resources, the hub and your student email. So if you're having any issues on an outside service, accessing something, you can come here and try and access it this way. Okay. So lots and lots of different links. I'm going to go into that catalog. We are going to, that is not what I meant to do. I don't want it on a separate window. Thank you. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to go talk about the aviation management BS degree with non-flight. When we get into your specific degree audit, I will run a what if analysis to show you how this program looks with that minor, okay? Because we can't add the minor until fall classes actually start. So we have here, this is laid out by, semester. It is an awful lot in this first term. You're not going to be taking this many, okay? Okay. They're from this year. Did you take any previous exams? Okay. So we won't get those until July. Yeah. Possibly, yeah. So in July, when your scores come in, we would make any necessary adjustments to your schedule. Okay. Don't worry, we're very used to that process. It happens every year. So this obviously lays out the curriculum by year, by semester, and has all the information in it. The only difference here is that it is obviously for the non-flight degree, so it does not have that minor associated with it. That minor is separated on our degree page, so you can see the requirements for the minor. It's all of these 20 credits. Even in the minor, you do still have the option of doing both tracks. So you can still do the multi-track or the single track, right? So here we can see that there are 8 credits of flight required. This flight 1 is our private pilot. Flight 2 is actually stage 1 of commercial. Flight 3 is instrument, and then flight 4 is where you get your commercial rating. So that's stages 2 and 3. So each course is a little bit different. Okay. They have different lengths of time. So flight 1 is approximately 2 semesters. Flight 2 is 1. Flight 3 is 2. Flight 4 single is 1 to 2, and then flight 4 multi is 2 or 3. Like it can be longer because sometimes the multi-course takes a little bit longer. So again, that's the 2 tracks. This flight 4 here, this is the single track. Regardless, if you choose the single engine track, you are required to still do an additional 2 credits of flight. And that is going to be in either the multi-engine add-on or the CFI course. But if you choose to do the multi-track, you finish your degree requirements, you can still do additional flight coursework but you can just do it directly with the Flightline if you wish to do so. Anything that is not required for your degree, you can just work with the Flightline. You don't have to register for it on campus. Okay. So for flight, if you choose the multi-track and you wanted to still do CFI, you just do the single engine add-on and then you do CFI. Okay. So you can get to CFI through either track. Not a big deal. And then of course, yes, the Aero 1 is already required in your degree. I'll show you how. And then Aero 2 will be in addition, but it will still be used. Aero 3 you'll take instead of what is required in your degree, which is National Airspace Systems, because those are equivalent courses. And then Aero 4 is excess, but then again, it will be used towards that elective. Okay. Done it all. So when we go back into this links for page, we can see that PAWS has a link. I'm going to click on that now, and we're going to go into your degree audit. To get into PAWS, you do have to use your TRAX username and password, and then likely a Duo Authenticator, because that is typically the route that we have to go to get in there. I am going to go into your specific degree audit. So you can get to your degree audit really easily by going to this DegreeWorks degree audit card. When you click on it, it will go directly into your degree audit. Give me just a moment because I do have to copy your ID. Okay, so this is your current degree audit. All right. Currently no transfer credits, but that might change in July when your scores comes through for those AP courses. I'm going to go ahead and run that what if for the aviation management degree and then adding in the commercial pilot so that you can see what it will look like, because it will end up looking exactly like I'm about to pull. So it will have this top portion. It'll still be 122 overall credits for the bachelor's degree. That does not include what you need in addition with the minor. And many of those minor courses are getting used. It is split up into two big areas, but it'll actually be three for you because of that minor. The first area that you're going to always see is your gen ed requirements. These are the, hum, comm, math, the things that everybody has to take in order to get a degree here. And then if we scroll further down, that's where you get your specific courses for aviation management. So that's the next big section. Obviously, more courses here than what's in the gen ed, because that's just a small portion of your degree. So we scroll down even further and then we get to the minor and commercial pilot. So these are all of the things that you need to meet in order to get this minor. Again, we just kind of talked about all of that. Aero 1 actually will meet this Intro to Aviation. So you can see here it says Intro to Aviation or Aeronautics 1, right? So that's where that's going to fall. National Airspace Systems or Aeronautics 3. So again, you'll do the Aero 3 option, which just means that you won't take this course in the semester that is shown on the original plan. Yeah. So here we can see that we're currently in the degree audit tab, but at the top there's another tab called plans. Plans is where you can find the SEP. So that is my plan for you. Okay. So here we see that it is active. This means that you can view it, but locked. That just means you cannot edit it. Okay. So when I click, yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Because you can already log into PAWS, you just can't do any registration. Like it's just not going to let you register for anything because of that health center hold. Yeah. So until that's cleared, like you can do anything else, you just can't do registration. So when you click on this link in the plans and you get into the SEP, you can see that it is laid out from fall 2026 through spring 2030. Right now, it does not include many of the minor courses. I did minor updates to that first semester. I didn't do any further updates yet. Okay, I will make those changes after the minor is officially on your record for updating the future terms. Okay. Correct. Yeah, I'll let you know. I have a list of everybody. I have a list. And then the department is already aware of who they expect to be changing their major. And then I ask that all of you guys come and see me during that first week of class, just really quickly because it with a computer so that I can walk you through it because it is a little bit convoluted on how to submit that request. And so I just want to walk students through it. Correct. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, no. Because registration and what your like degree are don't really correlate. Because you can just, yeah, exactly. It's an add-on. But as far as registration is concerned, like the courses you qualify to register for, like it doesn't, like there's not a restriction that you have to be in the commercial pilot minor or that you have to be in the flight degree. There's not that kind of restriction on any of these courses. So you're just registering for your first semester of classes without, like, there's no restriction on that. The only restriction right now is that your health center hold is not cleared. Okay. So I do have like a note up here. So I put that we need your AP scores, that you still had your health center hold, that you're going to be in the commercial pilot minor. I am confirming you are planning to do flight one here. Is that correct? So your PPL at Florida Tech. And then I also note that you are in the Let's Fly LLC. That means that you're going to be living in Robert Storm. Is that also correct? Mm, okay. So the Let's Fly LLC allows for you to, it gives you some, unique opportunities that your other students may not get, because you get some more, opportunities to interact with industry. Um, but it basically gives you like a group of people that you live with, that you do events with, that you can study with, like automatically, right? Um, that's the benefit of the LLC, is that like all those things happen. Mm. No, they all have to live in they live together in the dorm. Yeah, because you're, like, all on, like, the same floor of Roberts. Yeah. Well, there's other things that you get for being part of the LLC. Like I said, you get more, contact with industry persons through the LLC that your non-LLC peers aren't necessarily going to get. Some of it they will, because they're just going to be events like United Aviate. It will have presentations and everybody's invited to those. But there are going to be specific things for the LLC students that are just opportunities for the LLC. But part of it is that there's specific FYE sections for the LLC, because it's about being part of a community right from the get-go versus having to kind of build that yourself. Yeah. Because not like you're not going to meet people and you make connections. This is just a ready-made one. hmm It doesn't matter. I just have that you mark down the LLC. Yeah. It every student's different. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily more helpful or not, but it gives you a ready-made group. Whereas the other way, you are going to have to make those. I mean, not that you're not going to be able to, like, you're still going to have FYE, you're still going to have like courses with non LLC students anyway. So like because aero, like, plenty of students are taking Aero 1, aviation meteorology. You've got plenty of people that are starting courses at the same point you are. So there's going to be plenty of people for you to interact with. It's just the LLC members have some other unique opportunities that you, as a regular, if you're a regular student, don't necessarily get. Okay. Anyway, so FYE, so that LLC, like I said, would affect this FYE. For first semester classes, because you're going to be in the commercial pilot minor, you will take AVT 1001 instead of AVM 1000. So AVT 1001 is your private pilot ground school. That's Aeronautics 1. AVS 1201, which is aviation meteorology. And now both of these courses are required for Flight 1. Okay, they are co-recs. So they all go together in the same semester. COM 1101, which is our comp and ret, that's our first writing class. FYE 1000, which is university experience, and then Math 1000, which is pre-calculus. So the AP courses that you took this semester, what were they? Or this year? Okay. Okay. So the Gov and Econ will likely fit into the same requirement, which is social science. Oh, wait, you're aviation management, non-flight. So macro, the Econ might work out because you are required to do macro and micro for your degree. Sorry, it's the mix up between the flight students and the non-flight students. I'm so used to. So you actually have, you take both macro, micro, and a social science. So again, that would probably be very beneficial. The Lang and Comp, if you get a 3 or better, you will get out of COM 1101, and then you'll go into COM 1102 instead, okay? But when you do your first registration, you are going to register for COM 1101 because we don't know what your score is yet, right? Like that's not out until July. The pre-calculus, in order to get out of our pre-calculus, must be a score of a 4 or a 5. If it is a 3, that qualifies you to do the advanced standing exam in orientation week. Okay. It's to confirm knowledge, yeah. Basically to make sure it's like doing a final exam for the course is really what it is. And then if you pass that, then you can bypass doing pre-calculus here because it is a 4-credit math class. But when you do your registration, again, because those scores don't come out until July and we need you registered now, you're going to register for a full regular first semester and then we would update. Okay. We would drop what we get credit for and we would add what we need to go into next or something else that we also need. Okay. The chemistry, I will tell you, is not going to count towards your degree. Unfortunately, as an aviation management major, we don't need any science that is not specific. So for the gen ed requirements for science, it is specifically aviation meteorology and then aviation physical science. So chemistry is not the right science, unfortunately. So we just don't need it. Now, credits will still count towards your class standing. So all credits count towards your class standing. They just don't necessarily count towards your degree. So in this case, you would get towards sophomore standing a little bit faster than your peers, which may open up a class or something if we need to move things around because something's not working together or we're delayed somewhere else and so we need to find something else to register for, you would have more options. Okay. Okay, so, well, I mean, it could be used for that free elective. We'll see, because obviously once those credits come in and they apply to the degree and we know where they're sitting, then we might get out of more requirements, right? So that Kim could go towards that free elective. It really is just dependent on how many credits we get in. Okay. Okay. So for the first semester, like I said, it is going to be these 16 credits in these specific courses for now. And then any updates would be made once those transfer credits are in. So now is the last step of what I can do with you today, which is going to be doing the DocuSign. So I am going to print your SEP to PDF, and then I'm going to send it via DocuSign for you to sign off on. That's what we do in order for us to reveal your PIN number every semester. So 2608 SEP, and then let me get into DocuSign on my other screen. And this will go to your FIT student email. So if you have it linked to your, Google Mail, like a Gmail, then it'll be in there. If you don't, then you can go to that student email. I do need to make sure that I notify that student today that we need something from him. Advising syllabus. The other document that you're going to get in the DocuSign is a copy of that advising syllabus for you to acknowledge, and then I will include that in my follow-up email. For you to go through the rest of it. So if you have any questions about any of the rest of the advising syllabus, you're welcome to reach out and I can provide clarity. Okay. CP 608 syllabus and CP, and then next. Oops. Oh yes, indeed. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? Putting in names and email addresses. There we go. Noah. Okay. Oh, me. I believe so, but I don't know how. You might be able to do a new upload on your admitted student portal. So you're going to acknowledge the syllabus. There is going to be one fillable field on that page, which is for your student ID number, which is why I wanted you to find it earlier. And then you're going to sign and date both the top and the bottom of the term on the SEP. That is to ensure that you see all classes that are recommended for the semester because it often falls across 2 pages. Okay, and that should be in your student email now. Okay. Yep. Okay. So that allows me to reveal your PIN number. And then what I'm going to do is, because we cannot register today, I am going to introduce you to a third-party site that allows you to do, like, kind of play around with your schedule. Okay. So this is called Coursical. Okay. This website. Yeah. And when you use this website, you can find our school. So you can use the search field to find Florida Institute of Technology, right? Um, when you click on it, this is our fall plan, like schedule of courses. Sorry, this is a previously built schedule for another student. Remove. And then you can search for classes. So in this case, you can build it with like a Flight 1 block because AVF 1000 is, or 1001 is in here. Might help if it were spelled correctly. There we go. So these are all of the different times that are available. You'll note that they are approximately 4 hours long. So like this first block is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Remember, it does actually have a third day that's not shown here, but it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then there's Tuesday, Thursday. They're all the same times. They're just the whichever 3-day period. So they start as early as 7 and then they run every 2 hours. So 7, 9, 11, 1, and 3 p.m. So those 5 different time slots. And then, like I said, they're about 4 hours. So the good thing about Coursical is you can kind of plan where you might want your flight block to be and a couple of different options because you're not going to be selecting that flight block until June. Okay. It's the second week of June. It's not even like the first week of June. It's the second week of June. um, that's because that's when all advising staff is going to be available to troubleshoot any issues that might occur because we have an advisor that's currently on vacation. Okay. So the second week of June is when flight blocks are going to open. So we definitely want your class schedule to already be in place, but not that your class schedule cannot be adjusted once your block is selected. Okay. So here we can say, okay, we're going to try for this 7 a.m. to 10:45. Okay. Exit 7, add. You can click the little add button and then it puts it on your schedule. And then you can say, okay, well, I know that I need to add MTH 1000. And then this is on Coursical. Yes, yeah. So this is pulled from our class schedule. Now, it should be used with a grain of salt once registration is open. One, it does not show when a class is full. So you may select something, and when you go into pause to register for that class, it's full. So you need to be paying attention to our actual class schedule and looking at open sections, right? Which you can see those on our registrar's website. So if you're back on that link for students page, you can actually go to our class schedule. So under registration, there is a class schedule link, and you just choose main campus class schedule for fall, and you can search for all those courses. So like, and pre-calculus. Actually, let's use title. This search functionality is better with like a part of the title than it is like, don't do both prefix and course number. It will not find what you're looking for. It is very, very funky. So we can see here that like this section 1 only has 2 seats remaining. Okay. So right now, I don't believe there's any of these that are full, but this first one is almost full, right? As is the second one. So you just got to be a little bit careful because of how long it might take for that health center hold to be cleared. You're going to want a couple of different options, but you can play around with your schedule. You can kind of have what you think you want to register for. Just be open to it may need to change, right? So for pre-calculus, it is 5 days a week. So here we can see that it's Tuesday, Thursday for this first section from 10 to 10:50, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 to 11:50. The second one's at 11 on Tuesday, Thursday, but then at 1 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, there are 4 sections of pre-calculus that you should consider over others. So the first 2 in the last 2 sections, so O1 and O2 and E1 and E2, these are intended for students where pre-calculus is your first course, so non-STEM students. The other 3 sections, sections 3, 4, and 5, are the more difficult pre-calc, okay? Now, your hope is that you get out of this class, but we won't have that score until July. So I don't want you to put something on your schedule that then you end up needing that is now the more difficult course, right? So depending on what your score is. It's not stats. It's applied calc and stats. So our second class is not just statistics. It's a blended course of applied calculus and statistics. Yeah. Okay. So it's applied calc and stats. Yep. Yeah. So if you're hoping that you get into this class instead of pre-calc, you could go with the second section where it's already Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1. So like section 2 was already at the 1 o'clock time. And then you still fit both the 2 morning blocks. So you still fit the 7 a.m. and the 9, because if you look at AVF 1001 again, AVF 1001, the second time spot ends at 12:45. Okay. So you would still have time to get back to campus for a 1 o'clock. Okay, so this shows you kind of how your schedule might overlap. Basically, you don't want courses to overlap is what you're trying to do. That's what this allows for you to see, is that availability. So AVS 1201. So these are aviation meteorologies. I do know that one of these sections is full. 1201. The first one is full. So we have a 10 o'clock, an 8, and then Tuesday, Thursdays, and then this Wednesday evening. Okay. Now what you'll note is that like the time frames per day change, and that is based on how often you're meeting. So a 3-credit class that meets 3 days a week is only going to be 50 minutes per day. If it meets twice a week, it's an hour and 15 minutes per day. And if it only meets once a week, you're in class for almost 3 hours. Okay. So that's why this Wednesday one is from 5 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. because you have to be in class for the same amount of contact hours across 16 weeks, regardless of how often it meets. Okay. So the less often it meets, the longer you're in class. So again, we would not choose this first one because that is already full anyway and conflicts with the pre-calc and or the math 1603 of like how can stats. I'm like, where is my brain going? We can't do the 10 a.m. wouldn't work if we're trying to get this Monday, Wednesday, Friday flight block. So you would probably want to do a Tuesday, Thursday, either at 8 a.m. or at the 9:30 to 10:45 or do the Wednesday evening from 5 to 7:45. Again, that also depends on how much of your schedule you're trying to leave open for all the different types of block options, because remember, there is a 3 p.m. block as well that doesn't end until 6:45. So that also determines like which 3-day period you're trying to go for, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So essentially you can play around with the courses that you need in Coursical and kind of have a pre-built schedule. And then when you're ready to register, you can register. So you will have a tutorial that walks through registration. And also, like I said, I can set up a 30-minute meeting with you if you would prefer that. I'm going to have way less availability next week just because currently a lot of my appointments have already been booked out. Right now, it does need to be pretty much a week from today unless you expedite your anything that needs to be done. Because if you pay the extra money to expedite the MedProctor, which is about $15, then it typically is done within 2 business days instead of like a whole week. Yeah. So right now I can kind of set it up for, I have a 9 a.m. on Thursday or on Friday. Thursday or Friday? Thursday at 9? Okay. Well, I don't know what your schedule looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on my calendar to do possible registration with you, okay? And then you're gonna have to let me know before Thursday whether or not you were able to get it cleared, okay? So this is going to, so you're gonna email my FIT email, so it's rbabcock@fit.edu, but you'll have an email from me shortly, okay? Okay, so I just sent you a meeting invite for next Thursday to your student email. Because again, that's your primary communication source with me. Um, and then our hope is that you can get whatever is needed off of that, but you'll probably need to log into your MedProctor to figure out what's going on, okay? So you go through your admitted student portal and then into MedProctor from there. What? Oh. Yeah, that's the Teams link that you'll need for next week. Yeah. Mhm. So in your admitted student portal, I believe it may say something about immunization or something of that nature. Um, yeah, but you would have probably made an account with MedProctor, yeah, to upload the documents. Did you find the link off of the admitted student portal? No. So you need to, yep, you're gonna need to do that step and then resubmit. Okay. So unfortunately, until that's done, you won't be able to update to process, course registration. Okay. I don't know anything about the system or the documents. So you'll need to, um, you can contact MedProctor, you can contact the health center, but unfortunately, I don't handle that part. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm all set with you today. Do you have any other questions about the first semester? Anything that you haven't gotten an answer to yet? Okay. Since you are going to be a private pilot student, I do want you to be aware that if you do not finish your private pilot course by the end of the spring semester, you are required to stay the summer to finish. Okay. For however long that takes. But you are required to finish your private pilot before August of 2027 in order to stay in the flight program. Mm, but 27, a year later, right? This is 2026. This is 2026, August of 2027. So you have 1 full year to get your private. And we do have some GPA requirements for flight, so just note that as well. So after your first semester, you have to have a 2.0 or higher to be eligible to fly, and then it's a 2.6 from then on. Okay, so after your spring semester, it's a 2.6 or higher GPA to be eligible to fly. Okay, and that is from that point forward. So just make sure that you are paying attention to your classes, doing well, a C here and there, a D with A's and B's, that's fine. But like, just know you've got to be very cognizant of your overall GPA. Okay. Because sometimes that 2.0 is hard to overcome in that second semester to get to that 2.6 that's needed. Okay. So we want a high GPA pretty much the whole time. Just be aware of those sorts of situations. The only other thing really to understand is that other break periods not necessary to stay to fly. Sometimes it's encouraged depending on where you're at, but it's not required. The only requirement is that summer term in your first year. And that's only if you're not finished with the course by the end of spring. Are you talking about flight one? Yeah, no, that's 2 semesters. 2 semesters minimum. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So you can see that here. Let me reshare my screen with you. I'll show you where it talks about the length because it's in our like tuition and fees site. So finisher. Yeah, there we go. Tuition and fees. So you can see here, single engine track, multi-engine track, estimating costs per course. But we can see your private pilot certificate, 2 semesters. Flight 2, typically 1 semester. Flight 3, typically 2 semesters. Flight 4, typically 2 semesters. And even up here, like it even says like the single engine, 2 semesters, and then 2 semesters for your CFI. So just kind of know a lot of these things are going to fall across more than 1 semester. The only course that is typically a 1 semester course is Flight 2, but that wasn't really the case for a lot of students this last fall. A lot of students finished Flight 2 in the spring. So it just, every course is a little bit different because some of it is based off of how bad the weather is. Like, we're Florida. We get lots of rain. And unfortunately, that grounds a lot of things. So, especially because as a private pilot student, you are going to have the most ideal weather, right? You can only go up in the most ideal conditions. So you're going to have daylight hours only. Like you have more restrictions on you than like you will once you get to like Flight 2, Flight 3, Flight 4. Your restrictions start to lighten as you go further in. Okay. So, like, you can't have heavy winds. You can't have like daylight, can't rain, lots of things, right? So just be aware of all those sorts of things. So sometimes that also delays progress. But this does estimate how much the cost per course is going to be, but I would still tack on a little bit more than that. Because this is like the most ideal scenario. You're completing every single lesson. You're not getting canceled for weather, like all the things. It depends on the situation. So like there's different reasons for why you would have to pay. Cancellations for weather, probably not, but cancellations for other reasons, you would still probably have to pay for time. Okay. Yeah. So just be aware. This is a little bit on the lower end of what you're actually going to probably pay per course. But yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you. I have lots of anime things when you come to my office. I have like a whole cabinet of figures and stuff. I watch lots of anime. uh, yeah, I have my favorite is Haiku. Yeah, volleyball. I like the sports animes. I'm a weird one. I like the sports animes. I've watched a little bit of it, but no, I haven't watched like the whole thing. So I see, I couldn't really get into it because I started watching the ones that were too like true to the sport because that's really Haiku and Ace of the Diamond are very true to the like sports where the play is very much how play actually happens, minus the dramatic effect of the slowing down how things occur. Um, but my original like first foray into like anime was watching Prince of Tennis, which is one of those like Blue Lock where it's got a lot of non like like things that aren't really going to happen. It's definitely over the top for sure. It makes me think about Kuroko's basketball because in Kuroko's basketball they do a lot of that where it's like the mental like things and I'm like, okay, it's that kind of anime. And so I just haven't gotten into it. Like I loved Kuroko's basketball, but Kuroko's was like the second one that I watched after Prince of Tennis. So like Prince of Tennis had like a lot of that not really true to the sports stuff and then Kuroko's was like that, but it was cute. And then I got into like Haiku and Ace of Diamond, and those ones are very similar to their sports. But I do watch a lot of the very sports ones. I do need to watch Blue Lock. I like the soccer ones. I just haven't gotten into it. Right now, I'm not. I'm not in my anime era at this moment. I've been too busy. um, so I've just been not watching a whole lot of it because I like subtitled anime too, and I just haven't wanted to read that much. Mm, yeah. Okay. So Oh, okay, okay. I'll look into it. Yeah, I gotta see what's on Crunchyroll right now because I haven't checked. So, okay. It was super great to meet you, Noah. Again, if we are able to meet again next week to actually do that registration, that's phenomenal. You can use Coursical. You can kind of play around and start thinking about where you want your classes to fall. But again, pay attention to the class schedule as well, because there are some like comm sections that are already full, as well as some of the other courses. Arrow 1 should have seats in pretty much every section at this time. Aviation meteorology is the only one that has a full section for those courses. And then, like I said, the flight block's not going to come until later. I am putting your, follow-up email together, so you're going to get that shortly. And just we'll touch base again, okay? You have a great rest of your day.
To begin our biggest video ever. For the next several days, I will be traveling to a country with acid lakes, neon sulfur pools, churches carved into cliffs, and active volcanoes that have been boiling for 120 years straight. A country that has never fully been colonized and is home to 70% of all mountains in Africa. A country that has one of the highest concentration of Arsenal fans in the world. Right when Arsenal is about to make history, it's the place where humanity is believed to have originated and coffee was discovered. Bro, they even have a city that is kept and fed wild hyenas attack-free for almost 200 years. And I could go on and on, but instead of telling you, I'm gonna show you. And there's only one man that can show me around. Let's go, bro. Let's go. Guys, it is time to begin our big